Hello.
Hey,
How you doing?
doing great.
Hey everyone. Thank you for those who have already joined. We're going to take a couple minutes and just let the rest of the folks trickle in. So I'll give her a kickoff when we're going to get started. So Kate, how's the new year treating you?
Oh boy, so far so good. That winter storm was fun, so definitely got a workout in shoveling, but all good. We're skiers, so we got a couple days in Maine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we took advantage of it at least.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, same. Busy kicking off the year, but I like the snow, so it was funny. We got up early to walk in the middle of the storm, like in the morning through it. And somebody I was talking to at work was like, or someone on my team, she's like, I hate when it snows, and then it's just hard to walk in it, and you have to shovel it. But I prefer it to those freezing days that we've had this week, which I don't want to go outside in those types of days. So
no. I mean, and even the kids' schools get canceled. So then, it's right back home now.
yeah, exactly. We have a school right on our street, so we know if there's no carpool, if it's not a busy, that school definitely got canceled.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I know we are a couple minutes in, so for those of you just joining us, welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I am thrilled to be here alongside Kate Marx, who's our VP of Digital Training and Transformation at State Street Global Advisors. So welcome, Kate. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So before we, dive into your story and our partnership together with Drift, can you just tell me a little bit about State Street Global Advisors, who you are, what you guys do, and a little about your role and your team?
Sure. So State Street Global Advisors is the asset management arm of State Street Corporation. We're the creator of the world's first ETF and an indexing pioneer. I'm the head of digital training and transformation program management, and I'm part of our global digital team responsible for overseeing the onboarding and management of strategic programs, as well as training and vendor management, being part of that as well. Beginning early 2020, I also took on the role of global product owner for a real-time chat sales enablement tool, aka Drift, which has allowed me the opportunity to pair up with teams, our EMEA Spider sales team, which in a previous life I would have never had the opportunity of working with.
That's awesome. And sounds like, a lot of reach and cross-functional across the business, and obviously globally too. So 2020, I mean, we all know what 2020 was. I think will be the year marked for all of us. But what led you to look for, chat solution, a conversational solution, and ultimately, with Drift? Were you guys, was there a certain challenge? Was it related to COVID and sort of this notion or digital transformation that I think, we've all heard? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I would say the catalyst from the start was really to accelerate time to revenue and service our customers faster, at the moment they need our help. Ironically, the timing when we kicked this off was right in line with the early announcements of potential worldwide lockdowns. And with the shift, to digital resulting from COVID-19, statistics for live chat were on the rise, and the functionality was emerging as a predominant channel for interacting with B2B customers. We understood the opportunities live chat could offer us, not only by providing us with another channel for interacting with sales, but further expanding that 360-degree view of the customers coming to our website. Any hesitations that we might have had, there seemed to always be hesitations around transformation in my experience. Real-time chat was such a big change to introduce to our organization. It changes the way we do business in a new way. Anything new poses a lot of questions that'll need to be answered to not only the team members whose jobs may change, but stakeholders and the lot. When doing this transformational change, it was really scary. It's very important to bring the whole organization along with you, which takes a lot of time. It's just not just about the technology. It's about the people and recognizing there will be a lot of unknowns that you have to bring along with you in the journey.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you're in a pretty regulated industry too, right?
Yeah,
with a lot of
definitely.
So how did that factor in at all to the, to your valuation process?
Sure. We really had to look at it from a top-down approach. We adopted a crawl, walk, run, or well, I'd say right now it's really just a crawl, walk approach by starting with a pilot program. And just to be clear for everybody on the line, we've only launched chat on our UK Spider website as a start, and we're doing it, purposely as a pilot. We set a 6-month revenue goal for the team, and I'll get a little bit more into the successes of that later on. But we took it from a very small approach to plan to roll out, like the successes globally when we saw them.
Awesome. And for those of us who, maybe don't know as much on the financial services side and don't know as much about SSGA, can you tell us just briefly, like, who are your clients, customers, like who is buying from you, and who would be interacting with coming to your website?
Sure. So we have many different people coming to the website. It could be from a research, analysis, or even like asset managers. The important thing to note is that, this particular website that we have our chat on is we only sell to professional investors. So for instance, like Aurelia or I coming to the website asking for investment advice, you would be disqualified by the bot, professionally and politely right out of the gates. Our sales folks are not engaging with, retail customers. So if you're an individual investor, we give you the advice to contact your financial advisor for, any further information. So the people that actually qualify when they come into the website, it's a very low number. So you're getting might have some target accounts. Either you could have anybody from, a contact that you've reached out to in the past to let's say a family office just doing research. But as long as they've qualified themselves as either an institutional or a professional investor, we're open to chat to them. Awesome. That's not to say that we prohibit them from viewing any of the content on our website, but when they actually speak to engage or click to engage with someone, that's when we have to actually go through this qualification process.
Got it. No, that's really helpful. Thanks for sharing that. And I know we'll get into this a little bit later, but I think the opportunity sizes are quite large, right? It's a smaller volume, as you said, but can be really, really impactful from a revenue standpoint. And so I think, as we'll get into, that's why that experience for them on the website is so important, to personalize it and make sure that they get that really unique experience and get, what they need.
Absolutely.
Right qualification and their questions answered.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Did you evaluate any other solutions, or did you just know Drift, or did you just know you wanted chat and kind of get started from there?
I wish it was that easy. That it was just we want Drift, but obviously no, we have to do our research, right? Yeah. So a few members of our sales and digital teams had been part of launching a chat tool in their previous organizations. So our team, especially myself, I really relied on their experience to ensure that we're asking the right questions and guaranteeing that it was a good vendor fit. Obviously it was.
Yeah. Well, we think so too. Happy we sort of won out in the end, I guess. So you evaluated, obviously did your due diligence as anyone would. Ultimately landed with Drift. And what's your experience been like from then? So think about onboarding, implementation. I know we talked a little bit about the sort of crawl and then walk. So how did you start to set up the strategy? Tell us a little bit about what that process has been like.
Sure. So, from a Drift onboarding perspective, ironically, I was actually the one who initially was asked to look into Drift after we kind of narrowed down our search. And I started just by going to your website and chatting information can I view a demo? And literally 1 week later, we had an in-person, pre-COVID times when it was good old days, we had an in-person meeting with my conversational marketing advisor, and she's still my number one today. So think about this. We started in 2020. I still have my same gal today. And not long after that, that initial meeting, we had a plan in motion, contract and procurement. And what I really value most about the entire onboarding and implementation with Drift is that I truly feel like the Drift team is vested in SSGA's success. The team feels familiar to me, and we have great ongoing relationship. I can rely on them completely. I feel like we're growing with Drift. And so, I believe we're one of the first, financial institutions that come on board. And so the things that we're we're noticing within the application, that we might feel, can we tweak this? Or, hey, it'd be great if we could do this. The Drift team has been so open and, willing to work with these tiny enhancements that we say, hey, it might work better if we do it this way. I'll make a request, and I swear to God, like a month later, it'll be there. And I'm like, oh, they did it. They listened to me, So no, it's been a great experience.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. And, one of our leadership principles is put the customer at the center of everything that we do. And I think you just gave a great example, right? Of like small feedback, but it makes your workflow, your day-to-day, and then the results that you can get so much easier on the, user side, and then results a lot higher. And I think you were one of our first, customers of financial services, and we've been learning a lot, and really learning how do we adapt our product to the different needs of the diverse customers that we have. So appreciate that, and keep sending them our way. We will certainly make those adjustments. But so what were the goals? Like, okay, you got onboarded, it was a great experience, but in that process, you probably, and even probably before, right? Before you sign, were like, this is what I want to accomplish. I know you talked about it a little bit earlier, but what were some of those goals? And were there any specific, KPIs or metrics that you guys were measuring against?
Sure. So right out of the gates, like I think I mentioned, transformational, right? So right out of the gates, we had to prove to the business that this tool was going to be successful. So like I mentioned, we set a pilot in motion. Instead of trying to boil the ocean, we started out small. We set a 15 million goal in trades that could be tracked back to a Drift lead within the first 6 months of the application going live. I'm happy to report that in 3 months we did that. And then we've doubled that as of Q4. So it's just, it's a no-brainer for us, at least, So, the future looks really bright for what we're going to be accomplishing, with additional regions and globally. But, out of the onset, we did what we set out to achieve. We've also, talking about main goals is we prove that we can significantly reduce the time to revenue by allowing our sales team to get that immediate opportunity to speak with a prospective client. And it's at the exact time they're either reviewing our product information, it's usually a fun page, or even more opportunistically, when a prospect asks directly, for help or a question, that's even better. Or even when they come and want to book a meeting with us, that's gold right there.
Yeah. That's the dream. That's what we all want.
It's literally gold.
That's fantastic. I love to hear those results and how you've accomplished them even faster than, you set out to. What's been the reaction from the sales team that was using it? Are they just, were they hesitant at first and then super excited? What was the, feedback?
Well, I think, again, asking people to change their jobs is always scary. So we started out with a small group of, sales leads that are on my team. And, I think it was an unknown. It's how much work do I need to put into this? Is my entire day going to be filled with doing this? And what we developed was a really manageable, you're on. And it's what I think they found out is, the effort they put into it, the rewards are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then because you guys have some limitations from a regulatory and compliance standpoint in terms of who can engage in an open text conversation.
Exactly. And they're all scripted. So, they have to come through the bot and they have to be qualified to do that. But then we also, Drift has a great feature in there where you can automatically type out automated responses. So a lot of times they'll have to go through that, second, level of qualification again. And so when that happens, the goal really is to get them out of chat and get them on the phone and then talk about a trade or send them a pre-trade analysis. It's not I want to have a 30-minute conversation with you. It's you get them at the hook, you answer their question, and then here's the information you need to actually purchase the fund. Yep. For instance, right? And how we're using it right now. But I assume there are a lot of folks in asset management on this call. And when you evaluate the time and effort it takes to win a new client or mandate, there can be countless attempts to potentially initiate a conversation that goes nowhere, right? I don't have a McKinsey study to back this, but I would venture to guess that the percent of asset managers that prefer to be reached in a cold manner is 0. I think it's gotten to a point even where email is almost the cold call of 20 years ago. People want to spend the least amount of time, achieving what they need or want. Cut to the chase. Let's get things done. Chat affords the sales team the hook they need to get in front of the client quickly. And the client benefits by getting the information they had come for searching for.
Right. And we know, I think there's not, again, asset managers in particular, but buyers today, it's like over 90% now do most of the research online and alone, want to self-serve and learn on their own before they're ready always to talk to a salesperson, right? So even
exactly
your example of sharing that piece of, that asset is great. Then they can read, they can digest, answer some of their questions, and then they're ready. And then when they're ready, they actually are, and they're qualified. And then so your sales team is also not wasting time, so to speak, right, with someone who's not quite ready for a conversation with them yet. So I that's sort of what we've been seeing, and one of the goals, at least in the product, as we continue to build it, is think about how do we enable that, right, on the buyer side to let them get what they want, but also helping sellers, marketers, service, right, get that sort of efficiency and productivity side as well.
Speaking of efficiency, just kind of add on to that is, before we even launched the product, we talked to the sales support team, and it's what are you spending your most time on answering in the general inbox? How can we, make this entire experience more efficient for you? And so we were able to pinpoint those types of questions. A lot of them have to do around tax. And so if we can get those questions answered by the bot up front, the amount of work that the sales team is having to do on the back end is just significantly decreased on just answering questions.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great example. So we talked a lot about, we were just talking about, right, the experience on sales side, support side, and productivity. What's been the impact for buyers, for clients? And have you seen, in terms of their website experience, overall impact to your brand, pipeline, revenue? I know, again, I'm always reading studies about the impact of a great customer experience, right? Today's world, as myself as a consumer, wants everything fast and personalized, and tailored to me, and that makes me want to buy. And if I have a bad experience, I actually go away. This happened with a different consumer product, a plant company, actually. And now I'm not going to buy from them anymore because I just had 2 really bad experiences. So what's been the positive, sort of leading, but hopefully positive experience for your clients?
Well, I think, again, our engagement is low, and that's purposeful, right? And so the clients or the contacts that we've been able to acquire, either being new or returning visitors, it's on their terms. So for one, I'll just give you one instance that we love to talk about. And it's, a lot of times we don't even know who's coming to our website in the sense of we know where they sit, they're in a company, right? What is their role? So we had, there is this feature on Drifter where you can actually schedule a meeting. And so it's a Sunday afternoon, a CMO from, a semi, medium size, tier 2 client in the UK is just browsing on a weekend, looking at some fun product information, wants to talk, hits the chat button. Obviously, no one's online on a Sunday, schedules a meeting to talk to one of my sales members on that Monday. So think about it, it's a dream. So James comes into the office on Monday morning, sees that he's got a notification from Drift that so-and-so CMO from this, this big fish he's been trying to get for a while has now scheduled a meeting for later that day. He said it went so smoothly and so brilliantly because he wasn't the one that was knocking on this guy's door. It's the guy wanted to come and talk to him. He knew the information that he wanted to get. He ended up doing a really nice trade with us 2 weeks later. And so it's something that was easily, it was an easy experience for the client. It was on his terms. And this, what better way for the guy to get the, the sales deal? That's came into work.
Yeah. I think all the sellers at Drift would love that too, just to wake up to meetings with really qualified buyers. So I think that's such a great example. And I love the way you talk about on buyers' terms. And that's something that we talk a lot about, right? That's been our vision from day one, is engage buyers on their terms, and think about that of let them have, what does it mean to be on their terms? It means it's the right time, it's the right channel, and it's the right conversation, right? It's the right content and message. And In this case, it was over the weekend and booked a meeting and turned that into a video or phone call, whatever format, exactly it was. And they had a really great conversation, which was the right, the right message. So that's a little bit, I think, just a great example of bringing to life something that, we've been trying to do, and we'll continue to like build the product to hopefully do more of those for you guys.
And it's great because it's not only proactively, we're like proactively trying to get a hook, but it's reactively, right? For instance, I'm gonna call him James because that's his name. So James could be, just doing his average day, but like the notifications that come up on James's screen, whether it's like so-and-so is looking at, spy fund, blah, 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 blah. If he wants, he can take the opportunity to actually reach out to them. So that could be like a proactive, but then also he could also be the one that's just sitting there online. Somebody comes to the website, it's like, I can't figure this thing out. I'm going to ping somebody for help. And then it's a reactive thing too. So it's kind of by choice. It's like, I don't need to pay attention to it right now. Yes, I do. So it's, I think everybody on my team will echo that. It's like, it's what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And sort of that inbound and outbound motion, I guess, from like a marketer seller perspective. So you touched on something what you just said was like, he could see, what James could see, what the CMO was doing and what content, he was looking at, or that example. So where does he like get these, how does he see these insights, and have there been any like insights that you were like, wow, super surprised that you like learned about that you guys are making use of?
Sure. So, the chat technology provides us with insights so that we're better able to see that 360-degree view of the client. And like through the system, we're able to see what the clients are most interested in real time, because within Drift, you can actually see the pages that they're visiting in order, what time they hit them, if they're a return visitor. We can refine our sales strategy and be more targeted in like the approach to how we have those conversations with them. I think the surprising thing that we've caught is we have a lot of people that are coming from outside the UK to visit our UK site. And so we're trying to wrap our arms around, why is that? What's, might it be a content thing? Might it be, fund availability within different markets? So that's an interesting fact that we've learned. And then also we know that the example I just gave you, that C-suite executives are actually using our website to view products, perform their own research, and then also use chat as a vehicle to start a transaction. So that was something that we were quite shocked at. So happy to see that happening, and it continues to happen. We've got like managing directors reaching out to chat, et cetera, et cetera. So, our sales team also has a view into what the target accounts that are coming into the site. So within Drift Prospector, you can line up, like particular accounts that you want to keep an eye on, so that if they hit your website, you're notified immediately. You can come through on your cell phone. So you can say, so-and-so's on the website, they're viewing this page, this page, this page. And so what we've also found helpful is that within that sales team, they may not be covering a particular targeted account, but like, let's say their senior manager might be. So they're actually can report back into senior management and tell them about what's happening from an activity perspective on the website, so they can get ahead of that.
Yeah, that's, and I think those like, ABM notifications, sort of use the buzzword term around like ABM notifications, right? Or your account, like your whale accounts, target accounts, whatever words we want to use that we care, most about. And that goes back to your thing of, comment on engaging buyers on their terms. Like that's the right time. So if they're on, and your reps can get a notification on their mobile, or if they're on their computer, whatever, and be able to jump into a conversation, and see all that data. That's awesome. And I think from a marketer perspective, I geek out too of like, one, it's better sales experience. They're driving those meetings and pipeline and booking meetings. But from what you said of identifying all these folks coming outside of the UK, like that's really interesting. And it's like, why and what content do they care about? How do you maybe tailor, tweak then your bot conversations and scripts based on what people are asking most often? I think those, I geek out on all the insight stuff, because I'm all about using data to take action and create strategy. So I love
Trust me, I do too, because I can't actually chat. So I'm in the background just geeking out. So
yeah, we can geek out together.
Yeah.
So if we take a step back, I think this has been really awesome to think about your experience as SGA, your sales team, and how you guys are using it. There's obviously other financial services companies on the line, different folks here, what would you say to, your peers, other financial services companies who are considering using some type of conversational, solution like Drift? Are there any key considerations to go into their valuation process? Any lessons you've learned that you just want to share?
I come from a very large organization, so I would say a solid communication and involvement plan with all stakeholders from the get-go is absolutely key. From our perspective, we knew this wasn't going to be something simple and quick to roll out. There's a lot of people involved, from EMG, committee members to IT to legal and compliance. There's a lot of folks that are involved from this end. And you have to make sure that when you do roll it out, you're following all, compliance and regulatory rules that follow it. So I would say, get a solid communication plan in place first and make sure that you're involving anyone you think needs to be involved. And then I think what we did right is, we started small and identified, one country to roll this out into first, but I identified a chat champion from an actual chatter. So there's roles within the back end that can be assigned. So for instance, I'm like a super admin, but I don't actually chat because I'm not licensed to chat to customers. So I identified a key, almost like a lead senior sales chatter. And so he's really acted as the mentor and model to the others who have come on board. He's also very involved we have a weekly, call with our Drift team. He's very in the weeds with us on what needs to be tweaked and et cetera. And he's kind of the voice to tell us how are things going? What do we think, we need to change a bit to make it more successful, et cetera.
I love that. An internal champion, within the sort of user, obviously you champion it as well from a different angle, I would say.
Yeah.
And I totally agree on the sort of, I think you didn't say this word, but I think about over communication is always the best. So nothing falls through the cracks. So what's next for you guys with Drift? I know we talked about starting small, and what's next on the horizon? So
it's 2022 now. Crazy. And yeah, we're working on a regional rollout strategy to additional countries. And like I mentioned before, this is just the first phase of the pilot. Now we've proved it successful. We have a lot of work ahead of us. So again, I have to think about this. I kind of have to start at square one with the communication strategy because I tackled one region and now I have to think about others. And we have, I think right now we have around 18 playbooks in play. These are the conversational I don't know if anybody on the phone knows what those are, but if you think
the decision tree that build for those how you build the conversations,
exactly.
We call them playbooks at Drift.
So if we're rolling this out regionally to other countries, we have to think about multiple languages. I have to start working with, folks that can help with translation. So there's a lot ahead of us. And then also, each one of our regional, groups has different regulations. So I've got to go and talk to compliance, stuff like that. So it's a lot of work, but it's all really positive. We've got a really, supportive, group behind us. I'll just kind of toot our own horn. We won, it's called the 1GA Award. And so for this project, just because it was,
awesome.
Different groups from around the globe working together to better the business. And so, excited to see what comes in 2022.
Yeah, I love that. Congratulations. And
thank you.
I think very well deserved. And I'm very much looking forward to our continued partnership and growth and getting to work with you. I know you have your gal from day one and Mary and others, but I think it's exciting. And as we continue to grow and, be able to support more financial services customers, I think we're learning a lot from you guys as well. So thanks for the partnership.
Well, thank you.
So this was fun, and I think I could keep chatting with you, forever. But I wanted to open it up for a few questions that folks have. So let me just pop over to Q&A. Looks like there was one question. I think we talked a little bit about this, but maybe you can elaborate. Is what was the biggest hesitation with using something like Drift, and from like a financial services perspective with regulation and compliance, like did that play in? Was there something that was like the kind of biggest hesitation from your end?
I wouldn't say there was anything that was like the biggest hesitation. I would maybe put it back to the whole transformation aspect. I mean, the time and the work involved bringing all of the people I mentioned, into the fold, making sure that they're part of the process. They always say transforming your people is the hardest work, and I completely agree. I would say, there was a hesitation. I wouldn't say there was necessarily a hesitation, but I knew there was going to be challenges that we had to face for like upskilling our teams. There needs to be a solid training program in place to roll out functionality, so impactful as real-time chat. It's a big change, right? On how we do our business. When I joined SSGA about 4 years ago, we were just kicking off digital transformation, and that in itself was a beast. We've achieved over 7,000 hours of training within our organization since that time. And it's critical that you continue to upskill your internal resources to become those SMEs. Same with chat. The tool is only successful as the people that you have behind it in the chat seats. So you get, like I said before, it's like you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. So one other question that came in here as you were chatting was, what else, besides Drift and sort of a conversational approach that we've just been talking about, have you adapted your engagement strategy for this digital transformation that we're all going through?
I mean, I think what I'm most excited about and most proud about is like data-driven results. So we have a very sophisticated data measurement team who are experts not only in slicing and dicing data, but producing highly intuitive, interactive dashboards to help support and drive strategic decisions. And I'm really involved in ensuring that we train the entire organization on how to interpret this, not only interpret the data, I would say not only learn how to use these dashboards, but interpret the data so that they can do their jobs better, or we can modify our campaign strategies. Let's use what we're measuring, and instead of just reading it, let's think about how we can twist it and make ourselves even better from it. So I would say I'm really excited about just becoming that data-driven organization, that I don't think we had the tools to be previous to the transformation.
Yeah. And I think I love that. I completely agree. And I think with also all the different changes that are happening in the marketing world with cookies and all of that, we just see conversational data, that first party intent data. There's just so much that you can learn and how much more important it's becoming today. And it's literally us as a buyer telling you what I want directly. So there's less guessing and assumptions. So I'm with you there. All right. Let's see. I think that was it for questions. So thank you everyone on the line for joining us today. There will be a recording that goes out in about a day or so for any of you who want to pass it along to your teams, or weren't able to join. It'll go out via email. And Kate, thank you so much for joining me and the Drift team today to chat.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you.
All right. Bye, everyone.